We're live from Mako Komlemle Studios here in Accra on digital address GA0992539. Our top stories this hour. Supreme Court allows lawyers for 2020 NDC presidential candidates John Dramani Mahama the opportunity to correct mistakes in his petition, but it was not without legal banter. We'll bring you day one of the election petition hearing as we profile the judges sitting on this case. NDC and NPP leaders continue to hold on to their entrenched positions over control of the House. The NPP says it holds majority together with independent MP, but the NDC insists there is no majority. Also coming up, tail strike still in force despite an agreement reached with government to address concerns raised about their conditions of service. We take you across the major campuses as we assess the impact of the first industrial action in 2021. Also coming up later in the bulletin, La Youth face off with military over 250-acre airport hills land. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. The pulse is brought to you by Dignilu Affordable Safe Sanitation. Join us on DSTV 421 Go TV 144. Your WhatsApp messages are welcome on 0540109009. This is the pulse. Please be my guest. Now, the Supreme Court has given the go-ahead to lawyers for 2020 NDC presidential candidates John Dramani Mahama the opportunity to correct mistakes made in his petition. Mr. Mahama, in his petition, erroneously requests a runoff between himself and the Electoral Commission instead of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Lawyers for the EC and Mr. Akufo-Addo say this request to make corrections also had a mistake in it. Mr. Mahama is in the Apex Court seeking to annul the results of the December 7 elections. Court correspondent Joseph Akablay sat through the one of proceeding and now reports.
So the case is being heard by Chief Justice Kwesi Enin-Yeboah and Justices Yaw Apew, Mafusau, Nena Megacha, Professor Kote, Mariama Owusu and Gertrude Tokonu. Mr. Mahama's legal team first asked that the court allows them make corrections to the petition that has been filed. Mr. Chachutikata informed the court that it was an inadvertent error that had led to the team asking for a runoff to be organized between Mr. Mahama and the Electoral Commission instead of Mr. Akufo-Addo. Lawyers for the Electoral Commission led by Justin Amenuvo and the President's legal team led by Akoto Ampao opposed the request. Their explanation was that there was a mistake in the request that is seeking to correct a mistake, in that instead of asking to amend a writ, instead of asking to amend the petition, it rather is asking to amend a writ. And so they had pointed out that the court does not allow it. But the court went on recess and returned, and the Chief Justice Kwesi Enin-Yeboah indicated that the request does not go to the substance of the petition, so it has granted a request for the changes to be made.
We grant the amendment in the 10th page. Let the amended process be found by the close of the day before 4 p.m. today. Yes, the respondents are at liberty to amend their respective answers to the petition on or before 4 p.m. tomorrow, Friday, the 15th of January 2021. The petition is thus adjourned to Tuesday, the 19th of January 2021.
We caught up with Mr. Abraham Amaliba, a member of the NDC's legal team, who has been explaining why they made that particular request.
So all we need to do is to go out there and file it with the Supreme Court, the registry, and that is what is to be done. So this is something we have already done, and what is left is for us to file.
The point your colleagues on the other side made was that you made a mistake by referring to it as a writ instead of a petition.
But that is what I indicated to you, that this is an exhibition. No. This is an exhibition of the trademark incompetence of the EC, because what we filed was a petition and not a writ. And so for them to come up and say that we're making reference to a writ, when indeed on the face of the document was a petition, it's a clear indication of their incompetence.
A member of the President's legal team, Frank Davis, however, disagrees, and he says that it shows that humans make mistakes, and that is the essence of the case that will be arguing this particular matter.
It was obvious from the outset that they had committed errors and mistakes in the petition they filed. This was said by the lead counsel himself, Chachishikata, that they were going to correct the mistakes. We were opposed to the application in form and substance, but as you heard the court say, we are all human beings and we make mistakes. So the court ruled that even though they had made mistakes, it would permit them to amend so that the first respondent they intended to contest with in their petition is reverted to second respondent, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic. So that was what happened. In essence, the court is telling all of us that we make mistakes. So we should be kind to the errors committed by others.
On 19th January, the court will be sitting yet again, but there are some outstanding issues that it has to deal with. Key amongst them is the matter relating to the initial objection that lawyers for the Electoral Commission and Mr. Akufo-Addo's legal team have already raised. There is also the issues about the pre-trial matters, how the case itself should proceed, how many witnesses to be called to testify orally, which evidence should be made available, at what extent should those evidences to be presented to the court, and what presentation should take place. All those are outstanding issues that the court will address on January 19th. Reporting for JoyNews from the Supreme Court, my name is Joseph Akable.
So those are visuals that Joseph brought to us from the court. You've seen Mr. Mahama himself, his legal team, the other legal teams as well. Joseph joins me in studio. He's our court correspondent to help us understand the panel that will be sitting on this particular case. Joseph, it's good to have you. Let's begin with the people sitting on this case.
So the first, as is the practice of the Supreme Court, anytime the Chief Justice sits on any case, he's the president of the panel.
Okay.
So he's part of this case. Chief Justice Kwesi Niniebua, he leads the 7-member panel hearing the petition. Interestingly, he was part of the 2012-2013 election petition.
Okay.
He's the only one amongst the 7 judges who was in that particular case. A lot of his colleagues who were in that case have retired. And it's worth noting that in that particular petition, he ruled that the elections should be organized again. Okay. But that was not the majority opinion. The majority opinion was that Mahama was validly elected. But his decision then was that elections should be organized again because it was seriously fraught with all the malpractices, irregularities, and statutory violations proved in the petition.
But of course, he was in a minority, so that decision couldn't have been carried through.
He was appointed as a Supreme Court judge in June 2008 and elevated to Chief Justice in January 2020. The second judge on the panel, so it's according to seniority. So after the Chief Justice, the next senior judge is Justice Yawapeu, who was appointed to the Supreme Court in June 2015. One of the most recent public interest cases he has participated in is the case that was filed by the Attorney General asking that the court sets aside an injunction that was granted against the gazetting of John Peter Amewu as Hohoi MP.
Okay.
He was actually the presiding judge in that particular case, and he and 4 of his colleagues ruled that the judge erred in granting that particular injunction. He was also part of the panel that heard the case that was filed by a CDD fellow in public law and justice, Professor Kweku Asari, challenging the monopoly of the Ghana School of Law. In that particular case, he agreed with his colleagues as well and dismissed the case that the jurisdiction of the court has not been appropriately triggered.
Okay, this is who again, sorry?
Justice Yawapeu.
Justice Yawapeu, right. Please go ahead to the next one.
The next one is Justice Mafusau. He was appointed to the Supreme Court in July 2018. He was previously a Court of Appeal judge. He was also part of the panel in the Sao case that I spoke about recently. He was also part of the voters' registers case prior to the 2020 election. And he and his colleagues, in a unanimous decision, agreed that the EC can compile a new register. He also participated in the case that challenged the eligibility of Martin Amidu as special prosecutor. He and his colleagues in that particular matter also ruled that Mr. Amidu was eligible to hold office as special prosecutor. He was also part of the National Cathedral case, where the Supreme Court gave government a green light to assist in the building of the National Cathedral. The next judge on the panel is Justice Professor Kote. Prior to joining the Supreme Court in July 2018, he was a lecturer at the University of Ghana, Faculty of Law. He was also part of the voters' register case and the Amidu eligibility case, and in both matters, he agreed with his colleagues that one, the EC can compile a new register, and in the second case that Mr. Amidi was eligible to hold office as special prosecutor. The next judge, so the next two judges are the female judges on the panel. Justice Mariama Owusu, she joined the Supreme Court in December 2019 and was part of the voters register case as well, and she agreed with her colleagues in the unanimous decision as it indicates. The final judge on the case is Justice Gertrude Tokonu, who joined the Supreme Court in December 2019 and was part of the recent Sao case that the Supreme Court unanimously held that the High Court judge erred in granting the injunction against John Peter Amewu. And we focus on the cases since 2017 because 6 out of the 7 judges were all appointed from 2017 onwards.
Okay.
So
6 out of the 7 judges,
except the Chief Justice who was appointed in 2008.
Okay.
And Yawa Pewu was also appointed sometime in 2015. The remaining 5 were appointed from 2017.
Okay.
And so that is a by way of.
I mean, these are things that we can put together as a infographics and make it much more easier for you to identify with. So, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 judges so far, of course, with the lead being the Chief Justice. And Joseph Akable has given you a breakdown of each case that these judges have participated in as we begin to profile them. So, what is going to happen next? Before I even let you answer that question, let's take a look at some of the things that Mr. Mahama is seeking, or the legal team for John Mahama is seeking. There you have it. So this is a summary of what Mr. Mahama is seeking. That's the reliefs he is seeking, the responses we've had so far from the Electoral Commission and the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Joseph, essentially the team, Mr. Mahama's team, wants a runoff between President Akufo-Addo and himself, and they actually want a declaration or a ruling that prevents Nana Akufo-Addo from holding himself as president. What next? And
so as it stands, that we are going back on Tuesday. The court would have to decide when it will hear the legal arguments related to the initial objection that the Electoral Commission and lawyers for the president are raising. They actually want the case to be dismissed as soon as possible because they say that it does not challenge the elections that took place across the country and is simply seeking to challenge the declaration that was done by the EC chairperson, which had mistakes in it, which they say that it's not what actually transpired across the country. And so the court would have to decide when to hear that issue. Once it deals with that, then the other issue is how does the trial proceed? They have to fix days for hearing, and the new rules, just about 6 days of hearing. Then afterwards, the court will take a long break, about 15 days, to come back with its judgment, and that will fall within the 42 days, and the matter will be dealt with.
So 42 days, but we also understand that there has been approval for live coverage of this proceeding.
Yes, the court on its own granted the request even before Mr. Mahama's lawyers' documents even reached the court. They said they had decided to grant it and had written to the state broadcaster to provide coverage and feed for all other platforms. And so it will be live. We don't know whether the pre-trial conference will be live on TV, and that is what we'll find out on Tuesday.
But what happened today? Give us a mental picture. We went there. You were.
So when a heavy security presence right from the main entrance of the Supreme Court, when you enter the court itself, you had a lot of policemen all around before you get in. There was strict adherence to the COVID-19 protocols. If you're not in your mask, you're not going to be allowed anywhere near the court or even inside the courtroom itself. The courtroom was spaced, as you can see in your shots. So you sit, there's a space before someone else sits, just to respect the
So it looks like there's one seat in between each of the...
So you see the lady, that's the EC chairperson interacting with her lawyer, the EC's lawyer, Justin Amenuvo. Yeah, so and then this is outside.
Exactly. Finish what you were telling me about what the inside looked like.
So the inside, there was the spacing just to ensure that the COVID-19 protocols are respected. The journalists were given seats upstairs. So there is a lower part of the court and there's the upper part as well. So we were upstairs where that spacing was also done. Then the camera crew from the state broadcaster were allowed in to set up in order to give the coverage. And so that is how we looked inside. It was quite a brief session. They came in initially. They listened to them a few minutes. They went, came back and gave directions, and that was it.
Well, we'll see how it goes Tuesday, you say. Yes. Certainly, we'll have our eyes on the ground. Joseph, thank you very much. Joseph Akable is our court correspondent, bringing us up to speed comprehensively, of course, of the event of today when the election petition hearing started. Well, let me take you a few years back. The 2012 election petition that challenged the legitimacy of former President John Mahama lasted for 8 good months. And it was 8 months of tension, 8 months of unforgettable moments, broadcast live on television and radio. But it left many Ghanaians with some pretty unforgettable quotes like, "You and I were not there. Have you seen your real size?" and more. Maxwell Agbagba takes a look back with this report.
Instead of trying to help build your country in a better way, you just put it aside.
I apologize, my lords, and I take full responsibility for my...
One of those moments was when 5 persons were hauled before the Apex Court for contempt after they made some unsavory comments about the judges. NDC member Stephen Atubiga pleaded to be forgiven when he came before the judges. Justice William Atuguba had some questions for him.
I'm just a poor boy from Binduri. I'm not from any fancy family, and I come from a very poor home, Your Honor.
So you learned the slangs from your poor family?
My lords, I've lived in the United States for 14 years, my lords.
This is what I suspect. In the United States, you know the law works irrespective of anybody?
Yes, my lord.
For that, you're very
we cannot forget former NPP General Secretary Sir John, who was also dragged before the court for contempt.
How do you feel? Yeah, we'll take your temperature level before.
Especially, my Lord, I'm humbled by this baptism of fire. We find him guilty of intentional criminal contempt of this.
Justice Atuguba also criticized Deputy Youth Organizer of the NPP, Samia Wuku, for unpleasant comments he made about the judiciary.
We take judicial notice of the fact that Mr. Samia Wuku has been attending the proceedings of this court in this ongoing case. We think that the exclusion of Mr. Samia Wuku from attending the proceedings of this court for the rest of the duration of this case should suffice for a start in this direction. That is our delivery.
Thank you.
Now, we've given you full opportunity to demonstrate how mighty you are, and we hope you've done so.
My lords,
Do you now realize your real size in this country?
Yes, my lords.
Good. You are discharged.
Thank you, my lords.
So you're not able to tell us anything.
Lawyers for the two sides, Chachichi Kata and Philip Addison, often clashed during their arguments. Here is one memorable moment.
Submission legally. I do not need to say more than that at this stage, because these irregularities that we are finding on the face of the exhibits have a lot of significance.
Is counsel addressing the court?
And can you shut up?
I thought you're supposed to be cross-examining the witness.
I can. Yes. Can you let me finish? My lord, it's clear that if there were other people,
My lords, these rude words that counsel has been using, we're capable of reply. And I think that the court should call on him to use more decorous language and withdraw. We're capable of replying it. You should know that.
Lords, these interruptions are really unnecessary. And I think they're very trying.
This is how it ended.
The decision we've arrived at. Atuguba Adeyira Bafu Boni Gwedegwe and Akotobamfu JJSC dismissed the claim of overvoting. Atuguba Adeyira Bafu Boni Gwedegwe and Akotobamfu JJSC dismissed the claim relating to absence of signature of presiding officer.
Perhaps the 2020 election petition will also leave us with many unforgettable moments and quotes.
I'm just a poor boy from Binduri. I'm not from any fancy family, and I come from a very poor home, Your Honor.
So you learned the slangs from your poor family?
My lords, I've lived in the United States for 14 years, my lords.
You certainly remember those days, don't you? So we're going back to that lane starting Tuesday. Actually started today, we'll continue on Tuesday. I want to hear from you. What do you think? We've given you a profile of the judges. We've told you what the parties are seeking or what the petitioner is seeking and what the responses have been. 0540-109009. What do you think? Be a part of the show. We'll stay a little bit more on the court because there are more legal suits being filed by both the governing New Patriotic Party and the opposition National Democratic Congress in what could significantly change the current composition of the 8th Parliament. As it stands now, both the NDC and the MPP have 137 seats each. The former MP, Andrew Amarkwesiama, an independent legislator, completes the House of 275 members, but fresh suits have been filed, challenging the eligibility of at least some 16 members of Parliament. Manuel Kranting has more in this report.
Several suits have been filed in a number of high courts across the country to contest the eligibility of at least 16 members of Parliament. This follows concerns which arose after the Electoral Commission gazetted the results of the 2020 parliamentary elections. Both the NDC and MPP each have 8 seats being contested. The NDC, for instance, has 8 seats in the Savelugu, Pusiga, Jomoro, Asen North, Buem, Kintampo North, Banda and Krachi West constituencies being challenged, while the NPP's Techiman South, Hohoi, Tano South, Takwen Soem, Esikado Ketan, Tema West, Zabzugu and Sefirioso MPs are being challenged. These seats are being contested for various reasons. In the Hohoi and Buem constituencies, both petitions relate to the Sancho Kofi, Akpafu, Likpe and Lolobi areas. The petitioners in each of the cases contend that by Sao residents not being allowed to vote in their respective elections, the winning candidates were given an unfair advantage. So they want the court to set aside the results and order fresh elections. At Sevelugu, the claim is that the NDC's Abdullahi Jacob Idris benefited from widespread irregularities. For Pusiga, there's a claim of overvoting in 5 electoral areas, with the petitioner alleging it went in favor of the NDC's Ladi Ayamba. The others are Techiman South, where the EC gazetted NPP's Martin Ej Mensah Kosa as winner, and Kintampo North, which was won by the NDC's Joseph Kwame Kuma. In Techiman South, the NDC's Christopher Bayere says his coalition of results from polling station results puts him as the winner and not the NPP's Martin Ej Mensah Kosa, who has since been sworn in as MP and contends that a proper coalition will show that he won. Another petition was filed in Takwen Soem by the NDC's constituency secretary, George Gad Enemil, against the election of NPP MP Mreku Duka. In this case, the petitioner alleges what he describes as, quote, serious violations of the electoral laws and many irregularities, unquote. The petitioner wants a recollation of the results from 1,252 polling stations in the constituency, as well as order directed at the Electoral Commission to annul and rerun the election. At Asen North, what is in dispute is the eligibility of the NDC's John Quayson due to issues surrounding whether he renounced his Canadian citizenship prior to filing to contest. This is a bit similar to Kintampo North, where the accusation is that the NDC's Joseph Kuma was in 2015 found by a committee of inquiry as not being fit to hold public office for allegedly defrauding the state by 95,000 Ghana cedis.
Interesting reports there. Let me take some of your thoughts that have just come in on the back of the stories that we've done so far. This one says, good afternoon, JM should just accept defeat and stop wasting NDC resources. And he should also stop deceiving NDC supporters, period. From Abdul Ganiu, Mankregu in the Savannah region. Abdul Ganiu, thank you for your message. This one says, the Supreme Court case petition by the NDC will be interesting. And this one says, what at all is the NDC looking for? Erica Mofa sent this from Akim Akroso. And you say, we expect fair judgment and stiff punishment imposed on the people who breach the electoral constitutional instrument rules and regulation. We live to see the outcome and the verdict. Good day. Thank you very much for sending in those messages as well. Some of you have already started talking about what is happening in Parliament. I'm going to take a very quick break. When I return, we go to Parliament to find out who will be or will accept who will be the majority in the House. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is The Pulse with me, Gifty Ando, up here. I'm going back to Parliament right now, but just 2 more comments on the back of the Supreme Court case. This one said, per the profile of the 7-member panel read by Joseph Akable, in my opinion, the NDC has a good case, but the judge's past records of ruling indicates to me that this hearing might not go in favor of the NDC. And this one says, all the judges just promoted between 2018-2019 under this administration. You put a question mark there. Let's move on to Parliament. It's been another busy day there for the NPP and the NDC as they continue to battle over who sits on the right or left of the Speaker and who is called majority, even though they are both 137 on each side. Deliberations over the matter has lingered since the election results were announced last month, with NPP and NDC not conceding to be called minority. The independent MP, who's traditionally written to the Speaker declaring his intention, written to the Speaker declaring his intention to sit with the NPP side. That then brings the number to 138 against the NDC's 137. But the NDC is not accepting this as a majority side. They held a news conference to state their position after today's discussion, and they said they don't really mind where they sit so long as there is the understanding that there is no majority in Parliament. Joseph Gakpo is our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent. He's joining me right now with more. Hello, Joseph. Joseph? Well, Joseph, very well. Good afternoon. It's been a busy few days for you, hasn't it?
Good afternoon to you.
Right. Tell us a bit more about today's negotiations. I mean, we've had, yes, I do. We've had some updates, but take us through a bit more of the details in terms of the negotiations and how it has gone regarding the issue of who becomes majority or minority in Parliament.
We don't have enough details on how today's meeting has actually turned out. But one thing that we can safely conclude is that ahead of tomorrow's meeting of the House itself, well, both sides have taken entrenched positions and none of the two sides have moved away from the positions that they held even before the 3 days of negotiations began. That was on Tuesday. The NPP is still insisting that they hold the majority together with the former MP going into the next parliament. Well, this particular parliament, the NDC is insisting there is no clear majority and that there should be an opposition party in parliament and a governing party in parliament and not majority and minority leadership. Well, when it comes to the various committees, the NPP is insisting that they hold the right to chair a lot of the committees, and the NDC is also insisting that there should be a split in terms of who should govern each of the committees when it comes to the chairmanship. One of the things that it looks like we're coming to a resolution on as far as these issues are concerned has to do with who has the right to sit on the left or the right-hand side of the speaker. And at a media briefing today, apart from defending their position very, very vociferously, well, Haruna Idrisu, who leads the NDC side, made the point that his side would not mind sitting on the left-hand side of the speaker because as far as he is concerned, that doesn't actually mean much. And he goes on to make the point that what they will not negotiate on has to do with the chairmanship of the various committees, which he says they will not allow to go solely to the NPP side. But Oseiche Mensah Bonsu, who is the leader on the NPP side, has been addressing the media in Parliament today. We'll tell you about that in a while. But as well, Haruna Idrisu has also been addressing the media and he's been cataloging a number of issues. Let me quickly run you through some of those specific details in a while. He's, for example, been indicating that they on the NDC side are convinced that the letter that the former MP Andramakwe Siama has written to the speaker that he's hoping to do business with the NPP side in this 8th parliament doesn't mean anything. For him, that doesn't give them an extra from 137 to 138, which would allow them to actually hold the majority. So as far as he is concerned, there is no majority in the 8th parliament. Not just that, he says that in the spirit of the 137, the chairmanship of the 16 select committees in parliament should be split, so the NPP takes 8 and the NDC takes 8. He's been insisting on that. He's also been making the point that, well, when it comes to the issue of the allegation that a judge tried to influence the processes when it comes to the voting for the Speaker, Professor Michael Quay, who was contesting as a candidate for the NPP, well, that's something they would want to deal with on the floor of the House. And additionally, he's also been indicating that the issues having to do with the invasion of Parliament by armed military and police people, he says that's something as well that they'll deal with eventually when the 8th Parliament convenes concretely. Well, he's been addressing the media with more details on why he thinks that there is no clear majority as far as the 8th Parliament is concerned.
And the leadership of the MPP group, led by the Honorable Oseiche Mensah Bonsu. And we think that they should chair 8 and the NDC should chair 8. This will be a true reflection of the different shades of opinion in the current parliament as envisaged in the 1992 Constitution and under Article 103 and Standing Order 144 of the Standing Orders of the House. But like I said, we are mindful of who exercises executive authority, and we are mindful that we may be playing another role beyond our numbers of 137 in the exercise of oversight. And we are also mindful that some committees hitherto were also chaired by the political opposition. And I'm saying that there may be committees that necessarily must be chaired by the one exercising executive control of power. We're mindful of that, but respect our strengths and share it. And if we have to ballot, even for some of the committees, we should do. But the understanding is, as we got with the Speaker and with the leadership of the MPP in Parliament, is that we will operate tomorrow with the existing or old standing orders, because that is our Bible and that is our guide. But ladies and gentlemen of the press, major reforms are imperative. The AF Parliament will have to review, reform, and revise the existing orders. I must say that leadership in the 7th Parliament, and even prior to the 7th Parliament, had been in constant discussion and consultation for the adoption of new standing orders. Probably this is the time, and this is the fine hour for us to have revised and new standing orders that responds to this unknown challenges that the 8th Parliament bequeaths to all of us as a country. So there's some work already going on. The House has no choice than to work with the current standing orders, albeit with its deficiencies. It didn't contemplate these numbers. We never contemplated a situation where Parliament will be a hang of 137, 137. We are optimistic that, subject to those judicial processes and judicial decisions, we probably will constitute the majority. What then happens to the standing orders? We didn't contemplate that, with us leading the majority in Parliament, whilst executive authority is exercised by another political party. So, without prejudice to the court processes, we have commenced work to regain the seats that are being stolen from us. I'll emphasize just two, the Chimasaf and Seshi. That is not to say that we are abandoning the others. So we have begun those processes. Now I know, yes, I know that given that many of you saw what happened in Parliament the day of the election of the Speaker, we know that any mandate or authority we exercise, we do in the name of the sovereign and of the Ghanaian people. Let me assure the Ghanaian people that the NDC 137 MPs have no difficulty sitting to the left of the Speaker, so long as our numerical strength is respected, and respected in the composition of committees and in the determination of leadership of committees, whilst we continue to pursue legitimate legal and constitutional processes to procure what we deserve as a majority party. Someone will say, what is on the left and what is on the right? We have no difficulty at all. But we think that given what we've shared with you, guided by apt constitutional provisions, and evidenced by the fact that the former MP is not joining the New Patriotic Party and cannot join the New Patriotic Party by the constitutional framework as I referred to in Article 97. Hence, he risks, and further supported by the ruling of Professor. So if you look at 2014, you normally will see an announcement here, National Democratic Congress, 147. New Patriotic Party 123, Independent 3, People's National Convention. For every other record of Parliament, it will reflect NDC 137, MPP 137, Independent 1, nothing more, and none of you can add any to it. And nobody should be purporting or seeking to say that I've added one to mine. Cooperation, there can be. Collaboration, there can be. Joining, legally and constitutionally impossible.
So that's Haruna Idrisu, leader of the NDC side. As it says, we're still finding out who constituency, who accepts to be the minority or the majority in the House. Joseph Opoku Gakpo is still on the line with me, joining us live from Parliament to help us understand how the issues, played out in Parliament today. Joseph, the NPP side, led by Seche Mensah Bonsu, also had their own concerns.
Precisely, Gifty. The leader on the NPP side, Seche Mensah Bonsu, flanked by a lot of the other NPP MPs, addressed the media briefing to respond to a number of the issues. First of all, on the demand by Haruna Idrisu that when it comes to the standing committees of Parliament, it should be split 8-8 in terms of the chairmanship. Chairman Sabonsu found that strange in his words. He makes the point that there was a push to ensure that there came out a new standing orders, which would have given documented leadership positions on some of the committees to opposition MPs, which the NDC frustrated getting to the end of the life of the last parliament and didn't see approved. And so he says he finds it very strange that this time around, the same NDC that pulled brakes on the efforts to get the new standing orders passed, which would have allowed for the sharing of the committees to a certain extent and would have opposition MPs sharing some of the committees, is that same NDC team that's actually coming back to say the Parliament should work with the old standing orders and allow for such splitting when it comes to the chairmanship. He went on to disclose that in yesterday's meeting, a decision was reached that a new committee was being established to look back at the said new standing orders and probably get it approved as quickly as possible so that then it would govern the work of the House and allow for the NDC to chair some of the said positions when it comes to the chairmanship. But again, he's been insisting that when you add NPP plus Fomena, they constitute majority as far as this parliament is concerned, and that for him, that's very much non-negotiable. He's also been defending his claim that Alban Bagbin was selected by consensus as speaker and that he didn't win a vote. He went on to disclose a few details that we hadn't been aware of earlier. He said that when there was the snatching of the ballot papers by Carlos Ahenkra, the Tema West MP, and they went into conclave to decide on what the way forward would be, he made two different proposals which were shot down. The first proposal was that they were going to allow for Alban Bagbin to take over as acting speaker over a 2-week duration, and that when things are calm, then they could go ahead and vote for a new speaker. That proposal of his was actually shot down. He went on to make another proposal that indicated that then what we should have is a rerun of the election for a speaker. That again was shot down, and then it was a third proposal from someone on the other side, which then said that Bagbin should be the speaker by consensus, which he backed after some consultation on both sides. And so for him, it's based on that the decision was taken that Bagbin should be speaker after two previous proposals were rejected. And so for him, it was by consensus and not exactly by voting under any possible circumstance. He's also been disclosing that they on the NPP side are ready for cooperation going into the next parliament because they very much agree that this is a parliament that requires a lot of cooperation on both sides. And for Mr. Chairman Sabonsu, that's something that they are ready to allow for going into the work of the 8th parliament.
The past 2 weeks or so after the elections, I was explaining that given the circumstances that we find ourselves in, the the person who bears the trump card is an independent member of parliament. Whatever he decides to pitch his camp will determine which side constitutes the majority. I'm aware that my own party has been making efforts to reach out to him. Why? Because we know the reality. The reality is if he decides to pitch camp with us, it will give us +1 advantage in the House and will become the majority side. And the leader of that side will become the majority leader of the House. That comes without any equivocation. I'm aware that the NDC has also been trying to reach out to him. And it's born out of the confession of the chief whip at Joy, was it yesterday, that he was disappointed in the fact that he turned him down. Why was he disappointed? And what was the purpose in trying to reach out to him? Just to accept the reality of the times, that if he pitched camp with the NDC, they certainly will constitute the majority, because they will have their 137 +1. If he opts to pitch camp with the MPP, it is also 137 +1. That will give us the majority side, the majority seat in Parliament. And the leader of the group that occupies the majority seats would be the majority leader. Where do they sit? By practice and convention. They sit, that group will sit on the right of the Speaker. I started off by saying that I believe I'm going to be the majority leader in the shortest possible time or soonest, because you know what has happened. When we met the Speaker 3 days ago, he determined for us that is congruent to what I have been saying all this while, that where the former MP decides to pitch camp will determine where the pendulum will swing. And so he said, and fortunately, the second Deputy Speaker, who is the former MP, was with us. So he said, a lot will depend on you. I will encourage you to come with a declaration, and then I would announce the declaration in plenary. And that would put a stop to this, and then we'll know going forward which side will constitute the majority caucus. As I've said, the side that produces the majority caucus, the side that then will have the majority leader.
Let me go back to Joseph Opoku-Gakpo. You've had the majority side as, the former majority leader, or now the NPP leader in Parliament. Joseph, one would have thought that with the intervention of the former MP, that this issue would have been resolved, but it hasn't.
Obviously, the former MP's decision to officially communicate to the Speaker where he is choosing to sit hasn't satisfied the NDC side in the House in terms of them agreeing that that gives the NPP and former majority in the House, which is the argument that the NPP side is strongly pushing. Now, there are a few things we can expect tomorrow. Alexander Fenyo-Markins, who is the deputy leader on the NPP side, is likely to invite the Speaker to then pass a judgment, or for that matter, a ruling on what that means in terms of having the former MP and the NPP choosing to do business together. And that may well happen after a number of other things. Tomorrow as well, we've heard Haruna Idrisu indicate that they, on the NDC side, wouldn't mind sitting on the left side of the Speaker, although what they think is non-negotiable is the ability to chair up to 8 different committees here in Parliament. The NPP side has also said that if the NDC chooses to occupy the side of the Speaker's right, they will occupy the left and then subsequently invite the Speaker to pass a judgment on what the way forward should be, although just for the purpose of the record, it's not clearly stipulated in the standing orders that the majority should sit on the right and the minority on the left, although that has become the convention. Those are a few of the things that's likely to happen tomorrow. There's been the indication that the NDC side will request that the Speaker causes a situation where Parliament will officially investigate the invasion of Parliament by armed police and military people, and go ahead and request that the leaders of the said military and police team are cited for contempt of Parliament one way or the other. We can expect that as well to unfold tomorrow when the House eventually sits. But clearly, the debate on who constitutes majority or minority is something that we are still yet to settle a day before the House sits tomorrow. And most likely, the Speaker will be asked to pronounce a judgment on that as to whether he agrees that NPP platforming will constitute majority, or he will agree with the NDC side that no party has a majority in the House. We cannot wait to hear what exactly Alban Bagwen would rule as far as that particular provision is concerned.
Joseph, I say a very big thanks to you on that. And tomorrow is certainly a day we're all anticipating. We'll see what the Speaker's final decision will be. Joseph Opokugakbo is our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent. We're moving on to Tewu, but just a quick one. These are some of your thoughts. Hi, Gifty. It's obvious that the NDC cannot be majority in Parliament, but their mission is basically to frustrate and make things difficult for President Akufo-Addo. You say, Abdullahi Abdul Razak from Tamale, you said that you, however, believe that the President will be able to do his work well, despite what you believe that the NDC is doing. Final one here says, it is intriguing the way the NDC treats its supporters, telling them that the NDC has won the election and JM declared winner. But NDC says, okay, you've gone back to those issues. There's quite a number of those messages on. Unfortunately, don't have the time to sort it all out, but thanks for sending them in. Now, let's talk about education a bit. Teachers and Education Workers Union, as TEWU's strike, is still in force, although it reached an agreement with government over the consultative meeting Wednesday. The TEWU leadership signed an agreement with the government to work on their grievances of risk and non-basic allowances and promotion. According to a statement released by the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, key issues that were resolved in principle are pending further consultations with relevant stakeholders on both sides. Yet, another communique intercepted by JoyNews summarizes the three key agreement by both parties. Let me take a look at the details in the communique that we have cited. It is dated the 13th of January 2021. It says that the following discussions between government team represented by the Ministry of Employment. Now note this. These are the representatives of government. Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education and Fair Wages and Salaries Commission on the part of the leadership of the teachers or the TEWU. Well, let's take a look. It says the TUC, the public universities, and on the other part, the parties have. Right. Okay, so essentially representatives from TEWU. And it says that the parties decided on the day of January 13, 2021 to 1. An issue of risk allowance, a job reevaluation will be conducted for the members of TEWU who are exposed to imminent hazards. And then the issue of promotion, the Secretariat of Vice Chancellors Ghana will convene a meeting of Directors of Human Resources with the leadership of TEWU by Friday, which is by tomorrow, that in the furtherance of this agreement, the Secretariat should make available to leadership of TEWU relevance document relating to the issue before Friday. So hopefully that has done. We've been trying to get TEWU to comment on this, but we have not been successful. They have not opened up to speak on that at the moment. But the final point in this communique is that on the issue of non-basic allowance, consultations will be held with the government on the certificate of urgency and the outcome conveyed to TEWU. Well, students have taken over the work of striking TEWU members to help minimize the impact of the ongoing strike on their conditions of service. In some halls at the University of Ghana, students were seen manning the Porter's Lodge of halls of residents whilst their colleague students went through their residential registration. My colleague Kweku Asante was on campus here. He's joining us via Zoom, I should say. Kweku, give us an idea of a mental picture, I should say, of what you saw when you went to the University of Ghana today.
Right, so usually on campus around this time, students will be coming in, and we know that the University of Ghana has since resumed since Monday, and so students are coming in. And so since two members have been on strike, the porters, who are referred to as the hall assistants, are part of TEU and have been embarking or complying with the directive by their mother union to embark on the strike. And so they've all left posts. If you went to campus right now, you don't see most of them at the various halls. And their job is quite integral in terms of how students will be able to access their rooms on campus. And so there was no way the schools was going to be able to, as it were, operate without these officers. And so some students, leaders, what we call the junior common room, the JCR leaders, the presidents, the vice president, the secretary, and all, had to, as it were, join these people and be at their post and be able to serve their colleague students. And so if you went through the registration and then you came to take your key, the colleague students will hand you your key to the room, and then you go and do that. And so it has slowed down the process a little bit because these are students who most do not know the rubrics of this particular work. And so they've been trying to find their feet for the first few days. And so they are expecting that whatever the concerns of TEU members are, they will be addressed and they will come back on campus, because it will take some time for them to be able to get acclimatized to the work. And these are students who have to focus on their academic duties, academic responsibilities. Right. They're not porters. They are not receiving any amount of money for that.
Well, give me a quick wrap up, perhaps in 30 seconds, on the other things that you chanced upon on the University of Ghana campus. There was a demonstration or a protest of sort regarding residents.
Right. So Commonwealth residents are saying that management of the university must allow their management build their annex facility. The annex facility has been put on hold for a while now because some lecturers are raising concerns about the siting of the place, and also the idea that you give the vandals 4,000 additional members. And so it is expected that they will continue pressing this demand, and they will ensure that whatever be the case, their concerns will be heard, and then their next facility can be built. And so today they staged the walk to the Great Hall to make those demands to the Vice Chancellor in the state.
Koku, thank you very much. I'm sure that in our subsequent bulletins you give us a bigger an idea of how it all went down there. Koku Asante there, who checked out the situation of the University of Ghana campus for us. Let's go to Cape Coast now. Richard Kojonyako is joining us from the University of Cape Coast University, where he's been monitoring the situation there. Richard, what can you report? It looks like you're muted, Richard.
Hello, Gifty, can you hear me?
Great, please go ahead.
Okay, so at the University of Cape Coast, what you can see when you come here is that it's not different from what Kwaku Asante reported at the University of Ghana. The student leaders, the interim leaders have taken over the jobs of the porters. You know that their jobs are very key in ensuring that the students get access to their various rooms. But in the halls of residence, in the washrooms and the other things, this morning, the student had to take over the jobs of the TEU members who were expected to be there, clean the place, go to the washroom and all of that. They had to also ensure that they got water to take their bath and to go back to the orientation processes. Outside the University of Cape Coast, that is where, outside the halls of residence, that is where the impact of the strike is beginning to tell on the campus, because you see paper bags, you see papers, you see leaves and other things. So immediately you get to the University of Cape Coast, if you go to the university regularly, you will see that something has changed, and you begin to notice that the TEU members are not at work, but they have reserved some of the jobs, especially those who work at the hospital and other essential services. They are the ones that are still working, because they indicate that when even during their strike, when they even should get sick, they will still go back to the hospital. And so they've left these people at post, and then they say they are still striking. In the morning, I had an interaction with the local chairman of the University of Cape Coast, TEU, and he indicated that they've seen something on social media, but it's not come to their attention officially. But they will be meeting with the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission tomorrow, and whatever the outcome is, they will inform their members and as to whether they will continue striking or they will call off their strike.
Richard, I'll say a very big thanks for that one as well. And we've been trying, like I said, to speak to TEU, but they are in negotiations. They haven't given us the indication they're willing to speak right now. I'm going to take a very quick break, but here's a message from Honorable Samson Kwache from Bosomchi. You say the Tewu, NAT, Concerned Teachers and NAGRAT, all teachers association, who are the conduit of all teachers, should have patience. The incoming Education Minister, Honorable Dr. Yao Seiduchum, will restore all the cannibalized abnormalities in the education sector. The welfare of teachers first. Mr. Kwache, thank you for your message. And thank you all of you who have been sending in messages so far on the election petition, the parliamentary leadership tussle, and on this as well. I'm going to take a very quick break. When we return, talk to you about a dispute over land that resulted in a face-off between La Youth and some military personnel. We'll be right back. Do stay with us. Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us, and for those of you who are texting us, thank you. Now, this afternoon, there was a confrontation between the youth of La and some armed military men over a parcel of land at Airport Hills. Take a look at these videos. Now, the La youth, led by the paramount chief priests of La, Numo Yemo Obloni VII, say the lands were released to them by government last month after decades of government control. But even before they begin taking possession, they say officers from the Ghana Armed Forces are laying claims to the land. Our visit to the area saw the two sides present and arguing over ownership of the 250-acre parcel of land. A portion of the land was already being developed by some Chinese contractors who are believed to have acquired the land through the Ghana Armed Forces. I have here in studio, and by the way, we've been making attempts to reach the Ghana Armed Forces for their side of this particular story. But I do have representatives of the La Youth here in the studio. Jeffrey Tete is a secretary and the spokesperson for the Coalition of La Association. Jeffrey, you're welcome. Thank you. I also have here Ni Amwa Okromasa, the first who's a chairperson, also joining us in studio. Gentlemen, you're welcome. Let me start with you, Jeffrey. How do we know, or what is the evidence to prove that government actually released the land to you and to your people?
Okay, so thank you very much. After several years of demanding that the lands get released to the La people, the chiefs and people of La, there was a tripartite committee that was formed by the lands minister, involving the lands ministry, the La Traditional Council, and the High Command of the Ghana Armed Forces. Now, the final verdict was given by the minister under the presidency on the 27th of November 2020, at which meeting the military high command had representation, and the two people who represented the military high command at that very meeting were Brigadier General B. Amuabuachi, who was the Director General for Logistics at the Ghana Armed Forces, and then Lieutenant Colonel A.K. Awuni, who was the Deputy Director Lands at the Ghana Armed Forces. So the verdict was given at that meeting by the Minister, Honorable Kweku Asumachiremenden, that government has decided to release those parcels of land to the La people. The very place where we went today was not even in dispute, because it was not part of what the army had even wanted to acquire. So there was not supposed to be a dispute over that. So our chiefs were supposed to go and sign an MOU with the ministry on that issue after it was resolved.
Which ministry? The lands
ministry on the issue after it has been resolved that the land is for you. So there was supposed to be an MOU, just for understanding. They were on the 4th of December. They were on their way when they were recalled. But they were called and told that they should hold on, and that some government officials who were supposed to be involved, including the minister, were on the campaign trail, so they should hold on. But we realized that some people had gone there developing, and they claimed that they were working under the consent of the Ghana Armed Forces. So we went to our traditional authorities, and they said, no, this cannot happen. We wrote a letter under the auspices of the Traditional Council to the Lands Ministry and informed them that because of that, we are going to take possession. And they gave us the green light. Unfortunately, we had discussed with our chief. So today was the day we said to go. We had gone there with our thank you banners and the keep off signposts to possess the land. We entered, nothing happened. We've been there for about 1 hour. And then all of a sudden, the military came in. And then they asked us to vacate the place. So we told them. And this was what some of their leadership
at the point, sorry to jump in, at the point where you realized, you said that a committee was set up to decide. Please. The committee decided that the lands be given back to you. When there was a certain level of dispute, you said that there was the military seem to have disputed that. Did you get back to the ministry? You said you went back to the ministry. Did you get back to the military, the Ghana Armed Forces?
No, they did not dispute. All we saw was that there were these Chinese people working on the land. That's what we saw.
Have you contacted the people, the military, or the representative from the Ghana Armed Forces who were part of the committee set up to deal with the issue?
In fact, they are at Ghana Armed Forces, and after the verdict was given by the minister that, okay, this is what we have come to, and that the land should go to La, everybody agreed there at the round table, and then they all went off. So we thought that with that, there was no dispute again. There was nothing that should be done.
I'm asking this because you're saying that in the dispute that you have, you've seen that the military or the Ghana Armed Forces, personnel from the Ghana Armed Forces seem to be, they asked you to vacate the premises.
Today, yes.
And I'm asking whether you reached out to their representative on the committee that decided to release the land to you.
Okay, because we were on the land, we actually mentioned to them that these were the people who were present and that we do not have access to them where we are. But they, as military personnel, are in the better position to contact them. So they should contact them. And they refused to do that. All they told us was that they are taking instructions. So they asked us to vacate. We said we also take instructions from our traditional authorities. And because of that, we are not going to vacate until traditional authorities have told us to leave the place.
We're talking about traditional authorities. Let me bring you in. Ni Amwa Okrumansa. You are a chairperson for the coalition? Yeah. Okay. To what extent has the traditional leadership engaged with the Ghana Armed Forces to make the release of the land to you smoother than what we're seeing right now?
All right, let me first thank the viewers and thank you for having me on this platform. I must really say that the La Traditional Council have been in a very good position with the military all this while. There has been peaceful coexistence. It is also very important and instructive to state that we have had series of engagement, and one of the traditional authorities in the name of retired Major General Odotei, Major General, who was once the commander of the Ghana Armed Forces, is now the Jaseni or the Jasiche, the Kingmaker of La. So I can tell you on authority that there has been these smooth operations between the La Traditional Council and the military.
So have you brought him in this particular instance?
He's more than involved. In fact, during the tripartite committee meetings, he was fully represented on the part of the La Traditional Council. But the
so most important, seeing this confrontation?
You see, the most important thing I would want to point out is that almost every person in authority would want to have a piece of land in La, and the military is not in any exception. This is what I will tell you. If you've ever been to the land, you will realize that the military have annexed a whole parcel.
No, that is an allegation that
No, it is not an allegation. I am telling you something emphatic.
Okay,
so that
hold on.
If you could caution,
hold on.
What is the name?
Hold on for me. No, hello, sir, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me make this clear.
Yeah.
First of all, we don't have the military or the Ghana Armed Forces here.
Yeah.
But on this platform, we create equal opportunities for people to express their views, which is what we are doing, which is why you are here today. It is fair. If we had the Ghana Armed Forces here for them to state their side, that would be fair. But we don't have them. And so I cannot allow you to make certain allegations that
It
cannot...
is not an allegation.
Hold on.
It is an emphatic statement.
Okay, hold on. Do you have the proof for it?
Of course, I'm telling you, the moment you get there, you will see the structure that has been erected in the name of military.
Okay, so fair enough. If he had come here with such evidence, then it would be very easy for me to say, okay, fair enough. This is the evidence that shows that there is this property or there is this facility here. But right now, it is just what you're saying. Do you get my point? And because I don't have...
So can I give you another emphatic
so let me
one?
land.
You know about the military
Let me land. So once we do not have them here to respond, we will stick to the... And if it's an opinion, you have to state it as such. You understand? But if it is something you're saying that so-and-so has done, has seen, it is here, then we need to see evidence. Do you get my point? So the point you're making is that there are interests, right, as far as this land and this area is concerned. Please go ahead and wrap up your comments.
Thank you very much. I was saying that there are parcels of land that the military have annexed. I was expecting you for me to land. So after landing, you could even pinpoint that, oh, this one you could not substantiate. The military cemetery is one of these parcels of land that the military have annexed, and they have strategically placed it there in the midst of our development so that we would not be able to cross to other parts of the land.
When you say they have annexed,
Yes,
did you give it to them? Is it part of the arrangement for them to have?
There was no arrangement whatsoever. I can even take you back to 2008, somewhere 2009, when the former Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Akotiringa Ayine, wrote to the military that if you want to go through the proper, acquisition process, please do, but do not use any brutal means to acquire the land. So he wrote to them emphatically, telling them that stay off the land.
How did that end?
In fact, at that moment, it went very well. They stayed off the land until another time came when they had to go to the land by force. And then they went in the name of creating a buffer. And still, you could not create buffer without the traditional authorities' involvement. This matter landed in the court. There were issues around these legal gymnastics here and there, where at the end of the day, there was injunction of the military, but they still went on to construct a wall.
Did you go back to the courts? If the courts decided that a certain decision be taken, did you go back to the court to let them know that someone has, acted in contempt of what they said?
That is a very beautiful question. With all due respect, you know the country in which we are. The country in which we are, the power that rules is the one with muzzle. It could be the financial muzzle, it could be political muzzle, it could be a military muzzle. That is exactly what is happening, and that is why we are here.
So did
and that is the more reason, yes, of course, and that is the more reason we are telling you today that a home minister who is acting in the name of the president of Ghana said that we have had meetings. You have brought your side of the issue. We have also brought our side of the issue. And Lands Commission had come in, military, this parcel of land does not belong to you. You were only given 27.3 acres initially for your Gifford camp. In fact, you were supposed to pay £20 yearly. From 1953 to 1963, you have not paid anything. And to me, or my opinion is that it makes you even a bad tenant. But that notwithstanding, there was this airport acquisition and so on and so forth. And because of the Gifford camp that was created, today that is why we have a Burma camp. You understand? So ideally, I'm telling you on authority, as a traditional authority, that the military does not even have any iota of land whatsoever. Even if it belongs to government. Are you the government? No. Now the government, in the name of the minister, has said that henceforth, this is the judgment. Stay off these lands. And yet, you are still meting onto us brutalities.
So, which is why I came back to the point asking you whether or not you went back to court. And you said you did, but then you talked about, the theories about muscles, which is fine. But the key point is, did you go back to court?
Yes, of course. We are still in court.
And said that someone is acting in contempt of your ruling.
Yes,
of course. What did the court say? The matter is still pending.
The matter is still pending.
It's still pending. All right. So since it's pending in court, I guess I will just leave it at that. What do you think it will take to deal with this issue and make both parties move forward? What do you think it will take?
The most important thing is exactly what we did today. For a very long time, we have abstained from the land because we were waiting for the government, in the capacity of the minister, to come in. And they stepped in the right direction, stay off the land. We also did same. So having done so, there was a need for us to possess it peacefully. And today, your people witnessed, the media people witnessed that we were very peaceful. And the good thing about this whole thing was that, look at it, look at the picture. There was no, heckling here and there, no tension whatsoever. But at the end of the day, you saw what happened. What we can do at this moment is that we need to be at the backstop of the President of the Republic, since he is the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces.
Are you petitioning the presidency?
We are petitioning the government or the President right from here.
I see. What thoughts, what final words do you want to add to this as we move on?
Thank you very much. I think we have made our points clear, and everybody today has seen that it is the military who has tried to behave in an awkward way, which is not actually in line with the rule of law. People have come peacefully to possess their land, and they came in with military men. There are some of the things, if we want to talk about, when orders are being given to bring in the troops and then clear them off the land. I mean, it sounded so weird that in a democratic dispensation, military people, in fact, somebody actually said that if you misbehave, we are going to shoot. So I started telling the person, look, we have heard about stray bullets from the security personnel, and sometimes they come and tell us stray bullets, but we know some of them are intentional. So when you start saying things like this, we can now deduce that, then most of those things...
I mean, I get that you're expressing your feelings from what happened today when you went to the land. Yeah. But again, like you're saying, they told you, and you are reporting. We don't have the Ghana Armed Forces here to respond on their part. We've been trying to, reach out to them, but it's very difficult to get them to respond. But you've indicated that going forward, you are petitioning the presidency. You say you're starting that from today.
Yes. The point is that, so at the end of the day, our traditional authorities came in. Thankfully, our Mankralo came there. Ni Oboda died the 4th. The Shikitili ni Aje Kofe the 4th. They both came there, and then they had engagements with the military. The military initially wanted them to come and meet with the CDS, but when you look at the hierarchy of things, you realize that the minister who actually gave out the verdict is higher than the CDS. Okay, so the most important thing would be to go back to the ministry instead of going to the CDS.
At this point, we don't have a minister. We don't have a substantive minister.
We are talking about when there is a minister in
So you're waiting for...
We are waiting.
Okay.
However, a delegation would be sent from La to go and meet the military high command and then talk to them. In the interim, our authorities have told them that they are going to ask their boys to leave the land. Okay. But in order to forestall any occurrence, they shouldn't also allow any developer they have authorized to go to the land until this matter is trashed out.
So that's how you
that is exactly what happened.
Dealt with this issue today.
And our expectation is that the military will respect that part of the agreement we've had. Okay. If they fail to respect it, I think the people will still go there and want to possess the land if they realize that somebody is becoming a threat to what belongs to them.
I'm excited to hear that the traditional leadership, your traditional leadership, is planning to meet with the hierarchy of the Ghana Armed Forces. I believe that will work. And also you have a case that's still pending in court. Hopefully you're able to solve this amicably. But like I said, we've been trying to reach out to the Ghana Armed Forces for their side of this particular story. We haven't been successful, but this is their story from what happened today and from the videos that you've seen of what ensued today on that particular parcel of land. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming. I wish you all the best with this situation. Jeffrey Tete is the secretary and the spokesperson for the Coalition of La Association, and Ni Amwa Okromansa the first, I don't know why I keep mixing up your name, is a chairman and also in charge of correspondence with the Coalition of La Associations there, talking about this, was it 250 acres?
Yes, please.
Yeah, well, we're just getting a bit of information here that the military men on the ground, on the ground declined comment on the matter, and they referred the news team to the Public Relations Department of the Ghana Armed Forces. And we've made contact with Colonel Agwe Kwashi, who is director of the department. He said that they will investigate and respond to the queries by tomorrow. So hopefully by tomorrow, we will be getting a response on this.
Have you already thanked me? Because there is something there I wanted you to say.
Very well. We'll deal with that later. But thank you very much for coming. Good. Well, West Mamprisi Municipal Security Council has called on the Interior Ministry to intervene in the ongoing fight against armed robbery in the area. The council, at a meeting on Wednesday, unanimously appealed to the Interior Ministry to, as a matter of urgency, provide the police service with personnel and vehicles and other resources to help the security services effectively and efficiently confront activities and operations of armed robbers. The meeting comes amidst an ongoing manhunt operation for 6 suspected robbers who had allegedly carried out a coordinated attack on 2 major highways in the municipality.
Mamprisi municipality has been a hotspot for robbery attacks for many years, with 2 cases already recorded this year. 6 armed men hijacked the Wale-Wale-Nalirge Highway and the Bolika Highway respectively on the same day of January 1st and robbed tons of cash from travelers and motorists. A combined team of police, military, and personnel of the counter-terrorism unit launched a manhunt for the suspects. At the Municipal Security Council meeting, the Wale-Wale District Police Commander, Chief Superintendent Samuel Yebua, provides updates on the operation.
Information that some are living in a certain village. I forgot the village name, but when we move on to that village, we met a certain canoe operator who crossed those two before, and he got to know later that they were robbers. He crossed them after the act. They went to that village, and one canoe operator crossed that two robbers over the river to the river bank. And so later he got to know that no, the people he crossed there had robbed at
Yes, please.
Yeah. So we are still hunting for them or looking for them.
The police commander revealed that the police in the district, which is also overseeing the Mamprugu Muaduri district, has only 2 vehicles and less than 70 personnel, which according to him is woefully inadequate to tackle the kind of robbery attacks happening in the area.
We need vehicle and we need personnel so that information as well for us to move out immediately in respect of that. Now, sometimes when we have enough men and with the vehicle on our roads, I think the work will not be too difficult for the men because it will be handing over and taking over. When they work from morning to afternoon, personnel can continue from afternoon to the evening by 10 p.m. and from 10 to the following morning. 8 hours as a labor law, 8 hours working period. If it happens for us to also get seen, then I think the men, the commander and the men can be up and doing and such things will also stop.
The commander, among other things, called for the institution of additional measures in order to fight the menace, including the establishment of a high court in the municipality. He also advised opinion leaders, especially politicians, to stop meddling in robbery investigations and asked residents to trust and collaborate with the police to protect them.
My few advice to municipal people in the Walwali municipal is that they should have trust in police, and they should also volunteer to give us reliable information for police to act on.
The municipal chief executive and chairman of the Security Council conceded that the low level of personnel and inadequate vehicles for patrols could largely be blamed for the police's continued inability to combat robbery operations in the area.
We have made appeal through the Ministry of Interior to the IGP about the low level of personnel in West Mampus. Because as we speak, according to the information I had from my district police command, they have less than 70 personnel. And it is the same personnel that I'm taking care of Mamprugu Muaduri district. We have so many stations that are supposed to be there. Some have to work in the banks. So it is very difficult.
Nonetheless, the MC assured residents that government was working strenuously through his office to maintain safe and conducive environment. Ilyasu Tanko reporting for JoyNews.
Ilyasu Tanko with that reports there. Now, until now, the story of Inshaeso, a farming community in the Asante Akim North District, was that of despair, neglect and misery. Pupils and their teachers lived in life-threatening, dilapidated school infrastructure. Girls who traveled several kilometers to nearby Ananikrum to access JHS were often sexually assaulted by herdsmen. The herdsmen constantly attacked settler farmers as well, who lacked basic amenities such as potable water, electricity and motorable roads. Parliamentary reports of a remarkable change of fortunes in the Inshaeso community following a JoyNews agenda story.
Life in this farming community was characterized by despair as herdsmen threatened the only livelihood of residents here. Many settlers were forced to abandon their homes of many years for fear of coming under attack. It was double anguish for school children and their teachers who were forced to study under life-threatening dilapidated classrooms.
The first time I visited the area, but I was shocked to see how teachers were able to manage to teach the kids because the atmosphere was not conducive for teaching and learning.
Female students who trekked several kilometers to nearby Ananikru to access junior high school education were sexually assaulted by herdsmen. A JoyNews agenda which highlighted the plight of residents was enough to put Inshaeso community on the road to remarkable recovery and identity. MTN Ghana Foundation has since built and handed over a fully furnished 6-unit classroom block and a teacher's bungalow to the community. That perhaps has opened the community for more development. World Vision Ghana provided a borehole and government has extended electricity to the community while roads have improved. Inshaeso is now the toast of many.
The project has also attracted a lot of people coming to the community. Even World Vision has also dug a borehole because of the project that is coming there. And the assembly is also extending electricity.
Assembly member for the area, Peter Abaji, says a lot of people are relocating to the community.
We have been able to get water, that is borehole. We have gotten electricity. Parliamentary and multimedia have done a fantastic job and they've really helped our community.
For residents, access to basic amenities has brought a new life to Inshaeso.
Life is now sweet. Life is now good at Inshaeso community.
Officials of MTN Ghana Foundation are happy at the positive developments. They say the development explains the telecom giant's mantra of brightening lives. Robert Kuzo is a senior manager at MTN Ghana Foundation.
It's a good feeling for MTN Ghana Foundation to see that a project of such nature has actually awakened other organizations, to also go into that community and look at what is needed to complement what MTN Ghana Foundation has done there.
Robert Kuzo is grateful to JoyNews for the intervention that has changed the lives of many people.
We are grateful to Multimedia for the opportunity for bringing this to the fore of the MTN Ghana Foundation. And we continue to urge you to look around the communities that really have genuine need of this nature, and it will be taken to our board of directors for consideration.
From Inshaeso in Asante Achim North for JoyNews, Ninting reporting.
Impactful journalism. Now, as cases of COVID-19 increase daily, calls for strict adherence to all protocols have intensified. Regular hand washing under running water is set to be effective in the fight, but the people of Ninting say adherence to the protocol will be difficult due to lack of access to potable water. For decades, the community of Ninting in the Mampong municipality has scrapped rocks for water. Reopening of schools in the face of a pandemic whose prevention is through regular hand washing, among other protocols, has got parents worried for their children. Love FM's Nanaya Ojima traveled to the community. Here is his report.
These twin sisters make their way from home in search of water for their house chores. They always pray for rains. When it fails, their opportunity to harvest rainwater from the roof is dashed. Along the road to the water source, the number of children heading there swells. The water oozes from a rock through a small canal, gathers at a small opening and scooped into containers. It's past midday and the twins we came to this place with have been in the queue since, waiting for their turn to be able to fetch from this source of water. It's the ordeal they have to go through on daily basis before they are able to get some water for household activities and also some water for school when it's school day. Augustina Pokia describes the challenge they go through on daily basis to get water before going to school.
On school days, we wake up at dawn to fetch water. The queue sometimes is very long that we end up running late for school.
A As a daily routine, every child in the 2 government basic schools here at Ninting is expected to send a gallon of water to school. This is a challenge for pupils here, especially now that more water will be needed in schools due to the hand washing protocols of the pandemic.
I wish we had water in school for hand washing and other chores. Unfortunately, we don't have.
We are tasked to fetch water for school every day, and we end up showing up late for school.
The COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated the critical importance of sanitation, hygiene, and adequate access to clean water for preventing and containing diseases. Here at Ninting, this surface water, known as Ninting, complements water from the rocks, but the route to the source is hilly and daunting. The untreated water source also dry up.
At this time, we are fortunate it is raining at this time of the year. All water sources would have dried up.
When this water dries, we go to the next village and the fighters to the water since it's theirs.
Efforts to get water supply extended from Mampong to nearby Ninting, which is just 4 kilometers away, have proven futile. Head of Ninting royal family, Nana Eduasare, says attempts to get regular supply of water in the peak of the pandemic have failed.
When Anado announced that communities without water, the assembly should supply them with free water. So they brought the polytanks, we raised it, and then we were expecting that they will bring us water. They started for about 2 days. Then the 3rd day, they said that the petrol they were using was too much, so they wanted the people to buy at 20 pesos per jerrycan. So when they bring the water, the people will line up and buy, but they stopped buying.
Community leaders are expecting the local authority to urgently attend to the water needs of the children as schools resume.
We have 2 primary schools and then 2 JHS, but they are on separate grounds. So we need about 3 polytanks now, so that we can raise them, so that when they get the Berenka buckets, they can have access to water.
In Ghana, available statistics indicate less than 2 in 5 Ghanaians drink safe water. Also, 3 out of every 5 schools are without water supplies. This needs to improve in communities like Ninting for the country to meet the UN Sustainable Development Goal 6 of access to water and sanitation for all by 2030. From the Ashanti region for Joy News, Nana Ojima reporting.
And many thanks for doing this with us. Nanaya Juma put in that report. We'll bring you more in our subsequent bulletins, especially at 7 with Israel Lai. We'll do business live right after this. But the way we wrap up the post, there is more news at myjoyonline.com. Do take your time and take a look, especially at the Supreme Court, which has started sitting on the election petition. We have also other stories. And this show is on demand on our YouTube channel. Many thanks for your time.